Hi, it's Mr. Simmons. I am going to talk to you about percent right now. So you should have this worksheet. It should be in your bucket right now. If you don't, then someone should be passing it out to you right now. And we're going to start on this page with taking notes. And then on the back page, there's some problems for you to do for homework. So don't forget to write your name. Write your name, don't write my name. So percent means out of, I'm going to pause, and if you think you know it, go ahead and say it. Percent means out of what? Good, percent means out of 100. And percent is a part-to-whole ratio. Remember we talked about how there are part-to-part ratios and part-to-whole ratios. Percent is a part-to-whole ratio because without the whole, it makes no sense to say things like tax is 8% because you don't know what 8% is out of. Is it out of 8% of $5, 8% of $3,000? Those mean very different things. So it makes no sense to say 8% unless you know what it's 8% of. Try this one. Out of 100 people, 29% of them have blue eyes. How many people have blue eyes if I were to sit there and count them? Think about it. Say it if you know it. 29 people out of 100 because 29% literally means 29 out of 100. So again, you should be following along on your worksheet. You should have all this written down. Let's try another one. Out of 40 people. It's not out of 100 anymore. But this is a percent that's pretty easy to work with. Out of 40 people, 50% of them are girls. How many girls are there? Think about it. What do you think? How many girls? There are 20 girls. How do we know? Because 50% means half. And we know that half of 40 is 20 because 20 plus 20 is 40, or because 40 divided by 2 is 20. So now that we've done some easy percent problems, I'm going to demonstrate 3 ways to do more complicated percent problems. You are going to follow along with each way. You're going to pick the way that makes the most sense to you, and you're going to use that on your homework. So the question we're looking at, sales tax is 8% of the price. When you go buy something at a store, it always costs a little bit more than what it says on the price tag because of tax. That money goes to the state and city and county governments to fund things that the government does. And what they calculate a certain percent of the price. It's different depending on where you live. So sales tax is 8% of the price. How much tax do you pay on a $75 jacket? The first step is always to identify what is the part and what is the whole. How much does this jacket cost? Say it. The jacket costs $75. So that's the whole. That's what we're comparing to. We're finding percents out of $75. And what part of $75? How much is it? 8%. So 8% represents the part. Do I know how many dollars that is? No, that's what I'm trying to find. By the way, what percent, the whole thing, represents what percent means the whole thing? Good. 100% means the whole thing. So $75 is 100%. 8% is the tax. I want to know how many dollars that is. That's our goal here. All right, moving on. I'm going to move that first part up. So method 1 is to make a percent bar. This is in your textbook on page, let me find it. Okay, yeah, I just dropped the camera. So you guys can all laugh now. Get your laughing out now before you get the work done. So in your textbook, I think it's page 62. Yes, page 62 in your textbook looks like this, and that describes this percent bar method. So to make a percent bar, you write the percents on top, and you write the matching dollar amounts on the bottom. For this example, we said earlier that 100% of the price was $75, because you know that $75 is the whole price of the jacket. So on my percent bar over here at 100%, I write $75. I put X dollars here at 8%. X means the number I'm looking for, and 8% is the tax. That's what I'm looking for. So I put X dollars with 8%. Also, we want to label 1% because 1 is an easy number to multiply and divide. So I'm going to label 1%. Scale the number with the percent that you know down to 1%, and then scale this up to the number you want. So all I'm going to do is use scale factors. I need to go from 100% down to 1%, then I'm going to go from 1% to 8%. Where does 1% come from? That's just there because 1 is an easy number to multiply and divide. And if I scale it to 1% first, that means my scale factors will always be whole numbers. What do I do with 100% to get it down to 1%? Say it. That's right, I'm going to divide by 100. So I do the same thing with 75 to get it down to 1%. I divide by 100. Someone right now do 75 divided by 100 on your calculator. What do you get? You get 0.75 or 75 cents, so that goes with 1%. Now I need to scale 1% up to 8%. What do I do with 1%? What's the scale factor to go from 1% to 8%? Think about it. Say it. That's right, I'm going to multiply by 8. So now with a calculator, my 1% was 0.75. What is 0.75 times 8? Do that now. That will be $6. So that's my answer. The tax is going to be $6. Now, if you want to, you can skip the part where you scale it down to 1%. You can find a scale factor that goes directly from 100% to 8%, but that scale factor usually is not a whole number. That's why we find what 1% is first. 1% of the jacket is 75 cents, so then I multiply that by 8 to find 8%, and that equals $6. Method number 2 for finding percents is to make a rate table. The math is exactly the same, but instead of writing a bar graph, we make a table. We did a table kind of like this when we had the problem with Howdy's Pizza and we needed to find the cost of, we knew the cost of 10 pizzas and we needed to find the cost of 1 pizza, then we needed to find a whole bunch of numbers. So we know the dollars that goes with 100%. So we need to find the dollars that goes with 1%, because if I know a unit rate, it's easy to find any other percent. Again, how do you get from 100% to 1%? You divide by 100. So then I go with 75. You don't really need to draw those arrows. So $75, I divide by 100, and I get what? We did that already. That would be 75 cents. Then I need to go from 1% to 8%. What's the scale factor from 1% to 8%? You multiply by 8. So to get the dollar amount, I do 75 cents times 8, and that equals $6, like we already said last time. So again, for a rate table, you write the percent and the dollars that you know. Then you use a scale factor to figure out what 1% is. And then you multiply to figure out any other percent. It's that simple. Last method is to make a proportion where you set up 2 ratios. Be consistent with what order you're comparing. I put dollars on the top and percent on the bottom, so I'm going to put dollars on top and percent on the bottom every time. What is it that we're looking for, dollars or percent? That's right, I'm looking for dollars, so X goes on the top. How do I know I'm looking for dollars? Because the question asked for a dollar amount, how much tax? What percent goes with the dollars that I'm looking for? 8% is the tax, so 8% goes on the bottom. Now this one is less multiplying and dividing because I'm skipping the 1% step, but the disadvantage is that my scale factor is not always a whole number. So someone tell me now, what do you do with 100% to change it to 8%? What's my scale factor from 100 to 8? Do that now on your calculator. Talk to your neighbor. There's two possible answers. To find the scale factor, I can do 100 divided by 8, and I get 12.5. And I'm making it smaller, so in order to make it smaller, I would be dividing by 12.5. You could have also said that you are multiplying by 0.08. That is also correct for the scale factor. So if that's my scale factor, what do I do with 75 to get X? Think about it. I do the exact same thing. I do 75 divided by 12.5 and work that out on your calculator. What do you get? It should be absolutely no surprise by now that you're going to get $6 because this is the same problem that we just did 3 different ways. If you did the scale factor as multiplying by 0.08 instead, 75 times 0.08 also equals $6. So again, in summary, make sure you know what the part is, what the whole is. Make sure you know what you're looking for and put X there. X is not always going to be with the small percent. Sometimes X is going to be a percent. Sometimes X is going to be the dollars that goes with the whole thing. Make sure you know what number it is you're looking for, but you follow these same basic steps. You find a scale factor, and then you use the scale factor to find X. You might have to go to 1% first. That means I always have a whole number scale factor. So now for the rest of the period, turn your worksheet over and use one of those strategies to solve all 6 problems on the back. Make sure you show your work. Draw a line graph or draw a table, or write a proportion and show what you're multiplying and dividing. This is homework. It is due tomorrow. I will see you then. Have a wonderful day.